This is Ahrefs' public roadmap, and in this video we are going to talk about how well it aligns with their strategic goals from Ahrefs as a company. Today we will explore how Ahrefs could unlock up to $630,000 per year in reinvesting. No need for new hires and no need for real operation overhaul. Just basically focusing better on their strategic alignment. So basically they will have a full team that will be dedicated to growth initiatives, and I will tell you how I got into that number. Ahrefs is a tool built for marketeers, so marketing people who are building promotions and campaigns, and they can track the success of those ones in Ahrefs. Some of the competitors from Ahrefs are going to be SEMrush, SE Ranking, Most Pro, and Ubersuggest. The vision for Ahrefs is to build a tool for marketing people to build and make their brands discoverable, and also to be able to build those campaigns and track the success of those campaigns. So now let's talk about what are the strategic goals for Ahrefs. So there's going to be several ones that I have been digging out from mainly their website that I have found. The first one is that Ahrefs has been a very product-led growth company. They have grown very organically across their audience and building the community. They have used very powerfully their YouTube channel, their blog. They are extremely active in those channels, and this has made them very popular among their target audience. Basically, they have helped people learning about SEO, digital marketing, and similarly demonstrating how Ahrefs is actually helping those people to really build those capabilities in the company or in their work. Basically, they have built trust, and it has positioned them as an authority on the field. The second strategic goal for Ahrefs is that they have been expanding the SEO definition. So SEO traditionally has been the search engine optimization, and this strategy, what it has done is to broaden the scope of what the tool does. Basically, it has expanded to new areas like social media monitoring and AI content creation, and moving away, or not just forgetting obviously, about working with backlinks and keyword, or being a backlink and keyword tool that it was in the past. So with this move, they are trying to capture a larger share of the marketeers' budget and workflows. The third strategic goal, and I think that this is one of the most potentially crucial for them, is that they have an enterprise focus nowadays. They're clearly targeting larger organizations. Obviously, when you start as a product-led growth company and growing through communities, growing with your blog, with your YouTube channel, you are growing organically, potentially into companies, but with smaller teams. You are not selling to big teams, to large organizations, let's say. And what now they are doing is that they are starting to target those big organizations. Obviously, they have been targeting for a while, but those bigger organizations have requirements that smaller organizations don't have, like compliance, security, IT, infrastructure, things like that other smaller companies are not going to pay attention to, but large companies are going to ask for. And this is something that is very important for them to have, that checklist of requirements that enterprise customers have fulfilled, basically. The fourth strategic goal is community and trust building. I mean, this is probably the foundation of their success, obviously together with what the tool does, but most of the success comes from a very clever go-to-market strategy, which has been the promotion and the product-led growth that they have promoted in the past. So I think that this is something that they want to keep up, and you can see this, for example, with the public roadmap. Is very much community driven, which has its good things and its downsides as well, but we will come back to that one. And one of the things that this does is that it helps the brand build itself around transparency, which is not something that you see in many of the competitors. And that can move some companies and some teams to really choose them because of the transparency culture that Ahrefs has. And the fifth strategic goal that Ahrefs has is investing in core strategy. Unlike probably many of the competitors, Ahrefs has built a massive data infrastructure and web crawler. This is a very significant advantage because some of the competitors are probably relying on third-party information or infrastructure, which can be good sometimes in the beginning, but it can be also quite limiting when you want to really scale at some point. And this also investment is foundational for the data-driven and AI-powered strategy to support those other strategic goals. And while they are not a publicly traded company, they are very open and they are very proudly bootstrapped. And they actually have funded themselves, their growth, based on the revenue that they have been gathering and the profits that they have been gathering over time, instead of getting venture capital to do the growth of the company. And this is also potentially a very important distinction that suggests that they are focused more on a sustainable long-term growth and profitability over rapid growth at all costs that sometimes companies tend to have, especially when they are VC funded. So building a strategic alignment within teams has been one of my main goals always as a leader in different companies. I created a course that helps you understand how to build that process and how to make sure that your teams are really focusing on the strategic goals and the right strategies that are going to help you grow and that are going to help you prioritize better, and that they are not just working on features because features, but they are working on those opportunities that really will unlock the potential growth of your company. If you're interested, go check out the link in the description. So a few disclaimers that I always like to say before I start these reviews of roadmaps and how well they are strategically aligned is that, first of all, I want to say that thank you very much for having a public roadmap. The goal of this is not just try to criticize the company. The goal of this is to show how to be more strategically aligned in the plans that your company have. And these public roadmaps provide a very good place for me to do this kind of studies. Another thing that I want to say, obviously, is that I don't have access to the full roadmap and their actual strategy. So this is not really a complete analysis. I will have to work with people in the company to really understand the whole scope, to be able to do a proper analysis and a proper assessment. So I have not really contacted anybody from Ahrefs, and I have not received any information from them. Another key part is that I don't know their go-to-market strategy. And of course, the go-to-market strategy can promote growth, a lot of growth in different areas. So that's something that is not part of the study, or I mention it here and there where I know a little bit where it can be going. But again, I don't have access to it, and there's not really a commercial roadmap or a go-to-market roadmap where I could see like what campaigns they are launching, what target customers, where are they focusing themselves, which industries, and so on. So in the end, this is an exercise for me to help you demonstrate that there is a strategic alignment in many companies, and this is a problem that is present in, I wouldn't say all the companies because it's not, but in most of the companies out there. Now we are going to deep dive into the public roadmap. The roadmap is kind of unique compared to others, since this is to be mainly a set of customer requests. I think I've seen some other, I don't want to say which name because I'm not 100% sure which one was. I think it was Buffer. It was a lot of, I think it was customer requests also mainly, what it was in the roadmap, as opposed to Atlassian, which was more like their own roadmap. Making it visible to everybody, but with less engagement from the community. So there's different ways of doing public roadmaps. That's a different story. But there seems to be some clever prioritization here among the large amount of requests that we see here for Ahrefs coming from the community. So we'll deep dive in some areas to explain my how I see it, and then I will let you know what are my conclusions on the roadmap. So here is the roadmap. If you have seen these videos, usually I cannot work from here directly because it might be a little bit difficult, but just quickly, they have planned features or initiatives or opportunities. They have in progress and completed You can see also information here if you click in any of them, how many upvotes they have, who has been the voters. So it's very publicly available. There's comments. You can see, I'm guessing that this is one of the PMs or somebody that is managing the roadmap in Ahrefs, and what are the activities that they have been doing. So you can see that they are attaching posts that they receive from the community that are related to this one. So there's a way for them to evaluate the weight of a feature. So that's kind of interesting, and it's very powerful to see how much backup or how much support this request has. So this is pretty good. And then here, I think if you go to the different boards, you can see based on the different areas of the product, how many requests there are and what are the upvotes. So these are not what is translated directly into a feature. A feature is built and then they are attached. They attach to the feature these requests. That's my understanding based on my assessment these days. There is all these different areas in the product that you can see: site audit, site explorer, content gap, keywords, rank tracker, keywords explorer, batch analysis, so on. There's a ton of them. So you can see a ton of requests, and you can see that there are certain areas that have the highest number of requests. That can be for many reasons. It can be because they are the most used, and hence you get more requests. It might be that they are the most buggy. There might be that they are the ones that require more development. So of course, that's something that is very powerful then for the teams managing the product planning, prioritizing to understand what areas of the product potentially are getting more requests. So that's quite a good way to gather feedback from your customers in a collective sense, without having always to go interviews with a few customers and hope that translates. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do interviews. Interviews are great, but this helps you validate those potential interviews and discussions that you have with customers. As always, I moved this into an Excel sheet. I know that is not the best and most elegant way of doing this, but it is fast and I can create visualizations relatively easily. So this works pretty well to do a quick overview of the roadmap. There are tools to do this, as you probably all know. But anyways, this is probably for this type of assessment, this is the fastest one for me. Now, what I did here, I took all the information that they have. What is the task or the opportunity? I don't want to call it feature necessarily. What is the description? What is the type of suggestion? In this case, they only have features requests, and I didn't see any bugs reported there. What is the category? And the category is those categories in here, or the boards that they call them. What is the product? It's only one product in this case. In other cases, in other product portfolios makes more sense, like in Atlassian, there were several products. What is the number of votes? And then what is the stage, which is plan in progress? I didn't go into the ones that were completed. And what is the strategic goal? So the strategic goal is the 5 that I described earlier. Then I put here, where do I consider that the team focus is? Is it a strategic focus? Is it a supporting focus? Or is it a maintenance focus? That's what I tried to show here. And the last column is the one that contains which ones of these items I think that they are having a strategic alignment and they're pushing growth in the company in the future, and obviously pushing those strategic goals forward. Some of them, they might move, or they might be related to a strategic goal, but they might not really be moving the needle, in my personal opinion. So let's talk about some of the ones that I think that are interesting initiatives that are pushing the enterprise focus that we talk about that I talked about earlier. So enterprise focus. So I think that there are here several initiatives here, whether they're in the plan or status, that are going to help potentially that enterprise focus, that are going to be things that are related to, or things that are enterprise companies are going to look for. Several things like the integrations for GA4 data and Google Search Console data, run tracker API to be able to customize and automate processes, automatic and periodic reports for SEO teams, and can download the South Audits reports in PDF. Like, I'm guessing that's a competitor, I'm not sure. But basically, things that are going to help probably get the reports, spread the information, things that you cannot expect, for example, that when you sell to an enterprise customer, everybody in that enterprise is going to use Ahrefs. That's not going to happen. Some people are going to want to see integrations to other tools like Google Search Google Search Console, I believe it is, and extracting the data that then can be populated into other dashboards, reports, PDFs that are going to help bringing that information to decision makers that will never really use Ahrefs unless they are maybe a marketing director. You probably can guess that the rest are not going to be going there. So that's for the enterprise focus. I think that those were very relevant. When it comes to the core infrastructure, I think I can find them quite fast here. There was the... maybe it was not that fast. Here they are. Increase the number or limit of URLs to more than 200. So for example, at least 1,000. I don't know if they're going to put 1,000 or more. And then batch analysis. So these are things that are more like core infrastructure backend that is going to be quite strategic to help, again, those enterprise customers. I didn't put it to the enterprise customers because I think like the first strategic goal is the whole having the backend of Ahrefs really solid. But definitely this is something that unlocks the enterprise customers. When it comes to the SEO strategy or expanding the SEO, there are several here that I think that are going to help this. It's like, first of all, is limiting the number of characters. As you can imagine, all different social media have different limits on the amount of characters that you can write, content optimization tools, and SEO content template or writing assistant. Those are things that are going to help the basically the core value proposition of Ahrefs. As for the community focus, you can see that there's a ton in the strategic goal here that are related to the community, that are basically things that are strengthening the trust of the community in Ahrefs. Some of them are more strategic, some of them not quite. We will come back to that one later. And you could argue that the whole roadmap is our community requests, which it is, and they are. I'm not sure if the whole roadmap of Ahrefs is only community driven. That's another thing. We'll come back in a moment about that. What I would say is that there are still quite many supporting activities here in the roadmap that they're more like nice to have. Time on page filter, sort by author, show description of Google AdWords. Those are nice to have things that I don't see that are going to bring a ton of strategic alignment to the development, that bring a ton of potential. But these are nice to have activities or initiatives to do for the community. So I would say that they have one maintenance item, which is kind of strange because a company like Ahrefs, who has been around 15 years out there, most likely is going to have more maintenance than one item on the roadmap at this point. And it's even in the plan status, it's not even in progress. So that's strange, and I would say that there has to be maintenance for sure. It's just not visible here. So now let's very quickly look at some charts that I prepared. So the first one is the number of requests per the category type that Ahrefs has. And here you can see that this is very well distributed. There are some areas that have a little bit more, like rank tracker, keywords explorer, batch analysis, report builder, and web analytics, domain comparison as well. The rest is very well distributed. So the request seems to be basically all over all the different tools. This can be good and this can be bad. because now there's a ton of areas that need improvement, and maybe it would be good to see focus in some specific areas. Like, okay, now we're going to really focus Keyword Explorer, whatever it is that they want or need to focus on improving, and that it addresses some strategic goal. I think that could help them. Another one that I like to put here is that there is the different strategic focus here. So you can see that most of the requests are linked to community and trust building, which is kind of natural because though most of them are related to the community. Then there is the expansion of SEO definition, which is kind of the bread and butter. That's the main core value proposition of Ahrefs. Then there's the enterprise focus, which is a thing that the one that opens the doors for really big growth in the company, and then investing in core infrastructure. There's a funny thing here. There was a fifth strategy, which I have it on the list here, product-led growth. There's not a single activity that is linked to that strategy, or I couldn't identify it, and maybe I'm wrong about that. You could argue that their product-led growth strategy or implementation is done, although there's nothing that is ever done and there's always changes. And yes, you could argue that now that product-led is more focused on the go-to-market, which might be true. But it would be good to see something if it's a strategic goal. Otherwise, kind of feels a little bit detached from the strategic goals. Definitely wouldn't be a strategic goal for the product. It would be more for the company level, referring more to go-to-market activities. What I would say is that this roadmap is only showing customer requests or requests by the community, which means that there's no initiatives other than those ones requested by the customers. This means that there's not going to be other maintenance activities like re-architecture, bugs, redesigns that can happen very easily. And they're probably there in the roadmap with a company that has had the product out there for 15 years. And of course, the product has evolved. That's a different story. So what I would say is that probably they have like a two-tier roadmap strategy, if you want to call it, which is not uncommon. Think of you going to present a roadmap to your customer. You probably don't present every single item in the roadmap. You present some items, but you don't present the whole roadmap. You will hide some things that you think that maybe you don't know if you're going to complete, or you think that they're way too strategic and too secretive to be mentioned at this point. So I would say that probably they have the public roadmap, which is what we see now. And this is for them like a very good tool to engage with the community. And I think that they are using it very cleverly. So I think that that's really good. It drives customer satisfaction. It prevents churn. It shows activity. It shows listening to the community, to the customers, and that you are following up what their concerns are. And I would say that there has to be another, there is an internal roadmap. And here you would say that there's going to be probably things like large-scale R&D projects, potentially market expansion, and potentially also long bets that are not visible in the internal roadmap. So like, for example, 3 years ago, Ahrefs invested 60 million in creating yeap.com. That was a big strategic bet for them. And there was probably a ton of development that went there. I don't know if it was present or not in the roadmap. Right now, you don't see anything in the roadmap. But usually when you start a big project like this, most likely is that it will continue over years. It's not going to end up after 3 years. So I would say that probably there's development being done, but I cannot analyze that because that's not visible here. It might be that this is something that it's in some other, like an internal roadmap, not some other roadmap necessarily. Now, we'll go through what is working. So the different areas that I see that are working, and I will start by saying that this is a really good roadmap. As I said, there's quite many initiatives that are strategic, that are aligned with the strategic goals. Many of them also still driving growth, that I see that drive potential growth for Ahrefs. So basically, there's quite good strategic alignment in the roadmap. There's a strategic focus. And there's quite many initiatives that, in my opinion, will promote growth in Ahrefs. The second one is that there is a great community involvement, and this is a great tool for them to develop communities and to develop that product-led growth as well, because they are keeping that engagement aspect of the customer journey there. This is a great way of creating engagement and creating loyalty among your customer base. So I say that definitely thumbs up for that one. I see that there's a clever grouping of requests to align with core strategies. I think that they have done a very good job when it comes to looking at all the requests and then prioritizing them and making sure that they're surfacing those requests that are aligned with their core strategies. This is great. And this is something that if you're not doing, whenever you hear about a request from a customer, is it aligned with a strategy? If it is, it might be a great opportunity for you to both advance your strategy and also keep your community voice active, because this is really important for you. You're kind of killing two birds with the same shot. Really good. I think that this is very, very beneficial. The next one, I think that is the initiatives in progress seem to be mostly focused on enterprise or enabling the enterprise customers and expanding the definition of SEO. Just those two strategic goals. I think that this is great. There is focus, there are several strategic goals, but I think that it's important that you still focus on your development in certain area and then you move to the next. Not that you try to do all of them at the same time, because that's a little bit of a spray and pray approach. And maybe you are diluting too much your efforts and the promotion that you can be doing. Maybe your customers will notice less. So if you focus, it's more likely that your prospects, your customers will notice the improvements and will notice the changes. I also think that there's a good ratio of opportunities, initiatives in the roadmap which have a high number of votes with opportunities that are planned with a low number of votes, which probably are quite strategic, and that's why they are being added to the roadmap, even if they don't have as much support from the community initially. Now, what could we improve in this roadmap? So the first one is that I think that it would be nice to have a visibility of the overarching roadmap. So not just the community request, but after doing the Atlassian one, I think that was a very great roadmap from the point of view of the visibility of their internal activities. And I'm pretty sure that they don't show everything, but I think that having or relying too much on the community requests might be hiding some things that could be very important for the community and that you are not mentioning them, and that you could actually still mention them and show them that you are advancing in a certain direction. So I think that would be something that could be interesting to add here, that, hey, we are adding this one. This is not a community request. We are going to be doing this one, but we would like to hear your feedback as a community on this new initiative. One of the things that I always want to be careful with community-driven roadmap is that it can have a pitfall, or it can turn to be too reactive if you are just trying to chase every single request from your customers, and those requests start not to align with your strategic goals. This can potentially happen. I've seen it in different companies, so I think that this is a potential problem and something that you have to be careful when you are prioritizing. I think that they are doing a fair job. I think that there's still some things that are sleeping there, maybe a bit too many that are on the supporting side. Opposite to what I said in what is working for the in progress, actually when I see the plan features, there's quite many features here or initiatives that are addressing quite many different areas of the product and quite many different strategies. So it would be good maybe to have a little bit like understanding of what is going to be of the strategic goals, which area are you going to focus in improving. Right now, it sounds like it's a ton of them. Of course, I know that probably when it goes to the in progress, there's going to be just maybe 6-7 initiatives that move, and maybe hopefully they keep the focus on some specific strategic goals that is going to help them grow. And I think that if you have a more focused approach, you potentially could have a higher ROI per initiative by reducing the context switch both for the teams, so to allow the teams to specialize, but also to allow the customers to hear and understand better where the focus is on this time period. Okay, so now if we look at what is the strategic alignment, basically I said that I'm starting to with the maintenance, which seems to be a problem several times in these roadmaps, is that the maintenance, there's only one item. And for the life of me, I cannot believe that there's only one item on maintenance. So I'm going to estimate that the maintenance for a company that has, or a product has been out there for around 15 years is probably around 25% of the work just to keep the lights on. That's probably a relatively normal number or estimate. I don't have a way, by the way, to really measure the size of the opportunities and how much strategic or potential they bring and how much effort it takes to build them. So I went for the very basic one, and one is all the basic initiatives for me are about considered the same weight. But if you are doing this for yourself, you probably want to put some weight once you have a good understanding which ones have higher weight than others. So strategic initiatives, I would say there's 14 strategic initiatives and there's 8 supporting initiatives. And basically this leaves us with a strategic alignment of 48%, supporting 27%, and maintenance 25%. This means that they're quite good with almost half of the initiatives being strategic. But it leaves quite many still supporting initiatives being on the roadmap. Now, what would be the potential ROI, the potential reinvestment that Ahrefs could have if they bring more focus in the roadmap? So I would say first, the conditions that I would say here is that the team size, I'm going to estimate to be 149 based on what they have in their website. Product and R&D, I would estimate again to be at 25% of that. That's a very common product and R&D size, so 37 people. The cost per FTE, this is difficult to calculate. They say that they have very expert people. They have people in different countries like Ukraine, they have people in Singapore, people in the US. So I'm going to start with a conservative 100K. But if they have very expert people, that could change quite dramatically. And if we think that the current strategic alignment is a 48, let's go and check up the ROI calculator that I have in my website. You can find the link in the description down below if you want to go and check it out. And here you can do your own calculation. So we said 37 people. We talk about the cost per person. This is not just salary. This is including things like taxes, social security, bonuses, whatnot. They have current strategic alignment of 48. If we don't go too crazy and we think that the strategic alignment could go to 65%, this will still leave them with room for some of those supporting activities and supporting initiatives to really keep the community also engaged, not only with the strategic ones, but other nice to have activities or initiatives. This could give them $629,000 per year that they could be reinvesting. This means that they could have one team of around 5 people or 6 people really focusing on those strategic goals. And this does mean that they don't have to hire anybody. This is just shifting the focus of people from those initiatives that are more in the supporting side to initiatives that actually would support your strategic goals. If we think that, as they say, they have really good and that they're investing in talent and they have really good R&D product teams, the costs are gone. That doesn't come cheap and that doesn't come free. So I'm guessing that in that case, they will be looking at around 180. The number of the size of the team probably would be the same, but it would be $180,000 per year that you could be reinvesting in the development without really much extra cost. The important part of this is that with these new initiatives, they could actually be unlocking bigger growth and not just nice to have supporting ones. So basically, you can just shift some of those supporting ones and put the teams to work on more strategic initiatives or more strategic tasks or feature requests that you have, or internal ones, it doesn't matter. And at the same time, by just giving us 65%, how they have structured everything, this will mean that they are still driving those community requests and initiatives, and it will still drive that community engagement. So I wouldn't take away from that, at least not from my point of view. So what would be my recommendations, notes on the roadmap alignment of Ahrefs and the alignment with their strategic goals? So the first thing is that I think that the growth is impressive, that it has been bootstrapped and without VC funding. I think is really great for a startup. It shows that they have kept the focus, that they have focused on long-term, on profitability from very early stages. That's great to see. And I think that it has paid off for them. I think that it has paid off in the way that they have this community behind them, supporting them, and really having very clever strategic goals. I think that the strategic goals have been very, very clever. This strategy is funny. I would say that this is a strategy hiding in plain sight. Although I am familiar with the topic of marketing, having been a director of product management and product marketing, this one has been kind of difficult to interpret because at first sight, it looks like most of the initiatives are very, nice to have, and that there's not much of a strategic focus. But I think that in the end, there is quite a good strategic focus, quite healthy for a startup at this size and at this stage. I think that by tweaking some things, that's something that they could really push to that, even having a higher strategic alignment within the company and within the roadmaps and the development efforts they have. I see that there's plenty of catching up initiatives towards competitors. So in the roadmap, you can see that there's a lot of times that Senras, for example, is mentioned to catch up with them. This is something that in some cases supports strategies and in some others is more cosmetic. But you have to be careful with this, because if what you're looking is for product parity, you end up with the same product as your competitors. And that's probably not a place where you want to be. You want to have differentiation. So you have to be careful how well you balance these ones. Is this a deal breaker at this point? I don't think so. But if it starts to be too much catching up with your competitors, it could potentially be a problem and preventing the growth. And the same goes for the supporting activities. The same goes for the involvement of the community. I think that is great that the community is involved, and in so many different ways, not just in the roadmap. They do it with the blogs, with the YouTube channel, by educating those content creators, those marketeers to really grow their communities, to really build their brands. And I think that they are doing a great job there. Again, I see that this again could be a potential risk if it becomes a roadmap or that it takes over all the plans in development. I've seen this happening in companies that they end up answering to every single request, and then all the strategic plans that you want to introduce fail to move forward because of trying to only answer to community requests. Is this a problem for them? Not at this point. I don't think so. But it is quite big, the number of requests that are there that are not aligned to strategic goals. So I will just pay attention to it so it doesn't get out of hand. That's just more like a heads up, and just make sure that you keep the strategic goal. If you want to build a system and operations to really make sure that your team's plans are really aligning with their strategic goals, I have put a course together. You can find it in the description down below. So Ahrefs, I think that it's a very impressive story and success story of a company that has been bootstrapped, that is a successful startup with very clear focus, very community driven, not VC startup money, and just making great bets and long-term bets and not trying to fund everything with external money, and just making sure that they are really profitable and that they are listening to the community, that they're helping those people that are their potential customers, and how to link those problems that those customers have with their product and how they're solving the problems there. I think that they have done a very clever strategy. The roadmap, I think that's solid. I think some tweaks could help it to be a little bit better, but I think that the direction is great. Definitely somebody or a roadmap to pay attention in the future to see how it evolves. And if you are interested in seeing other reviews of public roadmaps and how they align with the company's strategies, go check out this playlist up here. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and if you have suggestions for roadmaps that I could be reviewing in the future, drop a comment down below. See you in the next one.